Good day, comrades. This is another session with panafricentric ministries where I, as the host, called Jamala, or Brother Soldier, 4D. 4D is the fourth dimension. We live in a three-dimensional life in the natural, where we want to go higher and we want to get into the divine aspects of life. We go a little higher to try to get full meaning in life. Some people don't believe this, some people do. But anyway, today's topic will be the price of loyalty within the context of our struggle as Black Africans. The price of loyalty. I'll begin by a scripture that says in the book of Micah, the 7th chapter, in the 6th verse says, a man's enemies basically are they of his own household. And that is also in Matthew 10:36. There's a lot surrounding those scriptures, but a man's enemies be they of his own household. We can take household as the members of your nuclear family, the people that we live immediately with. We can extend it to the extended family, to grandparents' house. We can go beyond that. The neighborhood. We can go beyond that. The community, the village, and we can scale up to national level. A man's enemies would be they of his own household. So we could take household in many scaling levels. In the beginning of the book of Genesis, they talk a lot about the betrayal of Cain against Abel, who slew his brother Abel, a member of his own household. We can move forward to Joseph and his brothers, who were going to slay him, but actually sold him into slavery and lied that he had been killed. And we can keep moving forward and find that many of the enemies that have taken a tragic turn in a person's life has been they of their own household. We can look at Jacob and Esau, the Edomites and the tribe of Jacob, how they warred against each other. Enemies of the household. We can keep moving forward to other stories. We can even go into the New Testament. Jesus, 12 disciples, enemy within the household. Okay? So, a message to my brothers, our brothers in the struggle, and my sisters. One of the greatest things that we have to be able to understand in our mind and in our hearts, and understand that there is a price to being loyal to our people. Doesn't mean that you're not loyal to other people, but there's a price to being loyal to our people, and conversely, there is a price for being disloyal to our people. We can kind of talk about some of the negative things of not being loyal. Or, excuse me, the price of being loyal first. You're going to, in an oppressed state, in a struggling state, you're going to be disliked by the oppressor because it goes against his agenda. He's going to garner support to subdue you and to keep you in an inferior state, to maintain the power that he feels, that illegitimate power that he has over you. On the contrary, you gain the admiration of those who identify with God and identify with what's right and what's upright. But do they have power? And that's what you have to look at. Do they have power? And if they don't have power, can you still remain loyal? God is a God of justice. And the men that serve the God must show themselves just and loyal to that God. And one of the tests of that loyalty and faithfulness to God is how we treat our fellow man, the members of our own household. Another part you want to remember is a price of being disloyal is, as an oppressed people, we'll continually go in and out of bondage. Or we remain in bondage, go in and out of slavery. We go in and out of colonization. Old Africans, I'm talking to the continent. Old Africans, I'm talking to the diaspora. When you're weak inside, the wolf and the enemy can come from without and spoil your goods. Take over your land. Run your men. Run your women. Maneuver systemically your men into criminal type behaviors where they develop factions against each other, warring on the west side, warring on the east side against each other, warring on the north side, warring on the south side. If a man or a woman's heart is not rooted in God, that man or woman's heart can be easily manipulated to turn against their own brother. Let me break here and I'll be right back. I apologize for that interruption because we have a power outage, typical in the developing countries. This is what happens when we're going to talk in the shadows of the darkness, unless for some reason I have to break here because the winds are picking up. Okay, I'm continuing about the price of loyalty. Now, let's look at a typical, like a household. In the household, you usually have typically a mother, a father, a son, and a daughter. And the ability to instill in those children respect for one another and faithfulness, and to be able to manage when you see envy come in, and it's very vital, very important. Because if you do not be able to harness and train a child in the way they should go, those kind of ill will feelings can manifest into poisonous and dangerous behaviors within a person. And you want there to be strong bonds and that to be practiced and rehearsed in your everyday life. You want to practice that with people outside your household, your friends. You want to practice that with your relatives, extended relatives. You want to practice that at school, your job. You want to practice those things in your community so that there is a sense of camaraderie, a sense of loyalty. Now, the price of being loyal for the believer and for the people who really want to go beyond this life and have a life after, and that want to be a spiritual a practicer of spiritual beliefs and a practicer of those things that are divine that do us good. The price of loyalty pays off. It has good dividend. In the natural world, it may seem to the criminal element of the criminal world or criminal mind that it doesn't pay off unless you're hooking and crooking, conniving and jiving. Because you seem to get things that way also. But there's no honor among thieves. There's no honor in crime. There's no honor. But does it pay? Sure, it could pay for a season. But when you have within the ranks of a society, of a community, of a neighborhood, of a household, as we said in the beginning of this episode, you have what is called, when you have that stability and that loyalty, you have what is unbreakable, so that you can't be penetrated from the outside, you can't be shaken from the outside. Nobody can come in and spoil your goods because you're strong from within. The price of loyalty pays off great in the long run, and that you're not going in and out of slavery. Your men are not filling up the prisons. Your men are not being caught all the time and having themselves removed from their families and removed from their communities because of criminal type behavior that is uncalled for. So whenever you're in an oppressed state, you remember that the men are a hard target, are going to be a hard target. Whatever community it is, whatever nation it is, the men are going to be the hard targets, the first ones that are going to be targeted for elimination or intense oppression. The woman, on the other hand, or the girl, poses a less threat. They're more considered a soft target. So they're not going to be as restricted as the man. The movement of men are more restricted. Even as a man can abuse his power over a woman and children, he is also the first subject to be restricted and overpowered and dominated by the threat of predatory systems, or the threat of opposition or oppression, men of oppression. So he is likely the one that if you can break that one, you can run the whole community, you can run the whole nation of those people. So what am I getting at, brother soldier? What I'm saying is, if you betray your people, you kill your brothers, you smoke your brothers, you take your brother's wife, you lie to your brothers, you take your brother's money, you turn him over to the enemy, you turn him over to the henchman, you turn him over to the hangman, there will be no loyalty and no trust. And when there's no loyalty and trust within the ranks, you will be a conquered people. And if the enemy can get us to be disloyal to our culture, our heritage, and our ancestry, and lie to us about it, he doesn't have to worry about controlling us with any prison bars. We're already controlled, because we'll continue to pray and feed on each other and kill off each other. And one of the reasons why this happens is because of cowardice. You're afraid to face the greater threat of the outside wolf and the outside enemy. You're afraid to deal with the injustices in the land. You're afraid to step to the plate and answer God's roll call. God has a roll call. It's called the men of righteousness, the men who stand against iniquity and injustice, the men who try to fight the injustices in their own self. The battle cry, when God gives the battle cry, your part is AWOL. You are missing. You are absent without leave because you decided to be disloyal to your brother. And you're an outcast. You're incarcerated. They got you hemmed up because you decided to take the bait that was laid out there for you to sling drugs, to sling alcohol, to be disloyal to your father, to be disloyal to your mother, to be disloyal to your wife, to be disloyal to your children, to be disloyal to your family, to be disloyal to your community, to be disloyal to your tribe, to be disloyal to your village, to be disloyal to your nation. And you go in and out of slavery. in and out of colonization, because you're the backbone of that nation. And when the backbone is broke, you're spoiled, your goods are spoiled. I will continue this in another part. Man, know thyself. Peace, love, Hotep.